MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network continues. I am Gabriel Morency. As I mentioned off the top of the program, it's always an honor and a privilege to talk to one of the true pioneers of the sport. You know, somebody was nice enough to get me the UFC Encyclopedia for Christmas. I know the book came out a couple of years ago, but it's really well done. And, you know, there's some great stuff about the early days of the UFC, and it really took me back to even the pre-UFC days, and that's why I'm so stoked to talk to the world's most dangerous man right now. Is he signed up for the world's most dangerous sport? Ken Shamrock steps up, and then Ken, it's always a pleasure. Thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me. It's always an honor to get on here and reminisce and talk with the fans.
Well, you know what? A lot of people are excited about you coming on the program this week, Ken, and I truly mean it. I'm not just saying it. You know, we speak to so many fighters, but I don't think you get your just due in the big picture. There's so many new fans to the sport. I don't think they're ignorant. I just don't really think they know the history of the sport enough and who really created all of this. So it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, Ken, you know, this announcement, bare knuckle boxing, it's been everything. Excitement, outrage, anger, why? I can't wait to see this and everything else in between. And am I right in saying and asking you, this is probably the same crap that you heard when you originally started cage fighting, even before the UFC? It's probably the same, you know, oh, why are you doing that, Ken? That's crazy. You're not going to make a lot of money. Why are you going to fight in a cage? And then I'm sure you heard, why are you going to do professional wrestling, Ken? You've never done that. Why are you going to do pro wrestling? I guess you've been hearing this your whole life. Why are you doing this, right?
Well, listen, you know, and you're exactly right with that. It seems like no matter what step you take, there's always going to be people out there that are always going to question your direction, especially if you're known. I remember when the UFC first came out, it was no holds barred, NHB. And when we first started doing it, the big thing was everybody screaming and yelling about it's cockfighting and these people aren't human and they come from prison and they're from the streets. And then when they finally got to know who we really were, then they started saying that, you know, it's okay, well, we're going to accept this, but, okay, stand up and fight like a man. That submission stuff sucks, man. People on the ground just hugging and kissing each other, man. Stand up and fight like a man. So then when you stand up and fight like a man, you start educating about the submissions, and now everybody loves the submissions, and now there's an opportunity for us to stand up and fight like a man, and people are questioning it when the original thought and love of the sport was bare knuckle, two guys standing up going mano-a-mano. That was the attraction. And then all of a sudden we forgot where we came from.
And Ken, you know, I assume you're not doing this for free, but conversely, I also assume you're not making millions off of this. So why are you doing it? Is it for fun? And is it the challenge of just how cool this actually is? I mean, this just takes me back. It's old school. Everything's so prepackaged right now. You've been in sports entertainment. It seems like the UFC is sort of merging sports entertainment and combat sport, but it's really more of a sport now than a fight, isn't it? This just takes me back. I mean, this is a fight. Bare knuckle boxing, no frills, no Reebok, no sponsorship, two men throwing down.
This is, to me, what it was all about in the beginning. It was about two guys going in there in the purest form with no gloves on and two guys getting in there and fighting one another and letting them decide it amongst themselves. It's become so commercial now. It's almost like when you first saw amateur wrestling. It was exciting at first, but then once everybody started getting more into the politics and the commercialism of it, then people started to wrestle not to lose and started getting points and then staying up by 1 point and winning the gold medal, and it just became boring. And I think that's what's happening right now with the world of MMA is that everybody realizes how much money is at stake in winning and losing on a pay-per-view event that they just do enough to win. We're going back to the roots now where it's not about just winning here. It's about going out there and having fun, competing at the highest level and bare knuckle where there's really no politics involved and you just go after one another and you have fun. It's like watching a tough man. Everybody loves to watch a tough man. Why? There's not a whole lot of skill in it, but these two guys that go out there love the idea of going out and banging with one another. It's entertaining. People love it. Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner, everybody keeps talking about how they opened up the UFC and they brought it to the public and they did this. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to argue this or that, whatever you want. But why did they like it? It definitely wasn't for skill. It was because it was a slobber knocker, knockdown, stand in front of each other, and robot to robot, knocking each other around to see who could take the best punch. Booyah, now we take the gloves off. You're getting the same entertainment, but it's real and no politics. What's the problem?
And you know what's funny, Ken? If you look right now, a lot of fans, including myself, actually think the women fights are more entertaining because the women have almost gone back to that. They stand in the middle of the cage and they fight. They lay their heart on the line. The technique might not be the best. And I got all the respect in the world for the modern day athlete and fighter. I really do. I don't say this disparagingly, but I totally agree with you. And I've been saying the same thing, Ken, in which we're not really watching fights. And I guess it's easy for me to say that because I'm not getting punched in the face, but it's a sporting event, right? It's different. It's not a fight. And I know a lot of these guys that are today's fighters. And personally, I think they'd be scared shitless if they knew, you know, they were fighting you in your prime or a Tank Abbott in their prime, that you guys were just ruthless and it was just a different animal. It was a different sport, wasn't it?
It was, because it truly was people that went in there, and it wasn't about winning and losing. It was about going out there and just going and just kicking some tail. And obviously you want to win. I mean, I hated losing. And so, but I also hated not going out and competing. I hated having a bad performance. I would get down on myself for not going out there and finishing fights. And so but I get it. The way that it's set up now is if you lose a fight, they won't bring you back. And so these guys are all hanging on to that opportunity to get into that big money fight, so that when they get ahead or they feel like they're winning a couple rounds, they're not going to take any chances because the whole thing will end up disappearing on them if they end up getting caught, and they won't bring them back. So to me, we need to try to figure out a way not to have these guys afraid of trying to finish fights, and if they happen to get caught in the end, that their career is over, that it's going to be 2 years before they come back or a year before they come back. We need to be able to give a little bit of leeway on guys that are really going after it and getting after it and having opportunities to try to win fights. And this is why I'm doing the bare knuckle. It's back to the roots, in which I enjoyed. When they first came out the gloves, I hated it because it took away from the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu skill set, which means when they caught in your back, everybody would stand up and say the fight is over. And 99.5% of the time, the fight would be over. But because of the gloves, they're able to grab it, and more guys are able to escape that don't have a whole lot of skill to escape, but they just hang on to the glove. Heel hooks. Because of the way it wraps around your wrist, the big bulky part, you're not able to hook the heel with your wrist because it's so bulky, so you can't get into the ridge of the heel to be able to return it, so it completely negates heel hooks. So it really has taken away the pure submission fighters with the glove, and then it takes guys who have no skill whatsoever in stand-ups and allow these guys to throw these haymakers and knock people out, and then become famous and get in the Hall of Fame when they have no accuracy whatsoever. They just throw haymakers, and they're able to catch people in the back of the head, the top of the head, and knock them out. If you take those gloves off, I promise you, they got 2 or 3 fights in them, and they're done because their hands are going to be destroyed.
Now, I've seen the movie Knuckle before, and we've actually talked about it on this program when it came out a couple of years ago, and I was fascinated by it. I can watch it over and over again. And, James Quinn's a tough-ass dude. So when you got the call here, have you watched the movie? And what are your thoughts on Quinn? And, this is new for you here. Bare knuckle boxing. This guy obviously has a hell of a chin. He's got good hands. He almost reminds me of Groundskeeper Willie, in The Simpsons, the lads have been drinking all day as far as the fist, and they're in a bad mood.
This guy, without a shadow of a doubt, is not where he is because he can't fight. He's where he's at because he's one tough SOB, and that he's got a good chin, he's got decent skills, and I recognize all this. But in my opinion, with everything that I've seen and with what I know that I'm capable of doing today, that I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, I will finish him.
Now, so there's a lot of questions about this. It's in April. Is it going to be in an arena? Because, we see this, and we look at about 3 minutes here, Kev, but Is it, you know, it's not in a field, obviously. It's going to be on pay-per-view. And then if it is, it's going to be licensed. Are they going to make you wear gloves, but you guys are able to cut the knuckles out? How is all this going to work?
One thing I made really clear with these guys was that I don't want any of this watered-down bare-knuckle crap where they cut the knuckles out and the knuckles are an inch deep in the glove so it'll never touch the face. I said I want a bare knuckle, and when I say bare knuckle, I mean you could tape the wrist and the hand, but nothing on the knuckles. I want this bare knuckle. Because that's the pure part of this sport, is that you have to be careful on where you strike. You got to be more accurate with your punches. You can't just throw these big haymakers and expect to get away with it and knock somebody out and walk out with a win when you're sloppy. So we want this thing to be real. We want to clean it up. We don't want it on gravel roads. We don't want it in backyards. We don't want it between bales of hay. We want to clean this up like the No Holds Barred did back in the day when people said it was cockfighting and people didn't have any skill. We want to clean it up just like that. We want to make it professional. We want to sanction it, and we want people to enjoy it, and we want the people that enjoy the technique of bare-knuckle boxing, the real technique of bare-knuckle boxing, to also be able to have a career at it.
That's great, taking it to the next level here, Ken. And, you know, as you say, I know you see the reaction out there, some of it positive, some of it negative. You know, I've got your back on this. I'm fascinated by it. I was fascinated by these travelers. I think it's great that, you know, you're getting a true legend in Ken Shamrock going over there and actually, you know, maybe taking this thing to the next step up. And, you know, there's so many keyboard warriors out there, the old armchair critics. And I read one MMA website, and they stated Ken Shamrock's only doing this to promote his sports drinks and his products. And I gotta say, that was never brought up when we talked about you coming on the show freaking once. You didn't bring up any sports drinks. So
listen to me, man. I'm a businessman. Okay, I mean I'm a fighter. I'm a pro fighter. I get into the world of professional fighting, and anybody will tell you that's either in a pro sport, it is a business. There's no question. But you better love your job, and I love my job. And don't think for a second that I'm not using this absolutely as a business opportunity to be able to promote my other businesses. But don't you think for a second that I ain't going in there to win this fight and that I don't enjoy what I do.
So, Ken, we got about 60 seconds here. I want to give a shout-out to your boy, Jay Tropics. Always been a class act with us. Always bring the top fighters to Toronto if you guys want to hang out with fighters and party like a rock star. So, shout-out to Jay here. But floor's yours, Ken, on the way out. As I stated, you didn't ask to promote anything. No, that never came up. But on the way out here, take us out, Ken.
Well, I'll tell you what, I always want to thank everybody for the support. Even the ones that are not supporting, man, you better check this out because no matter how much you don't like it, it's there. People want to see it, and they're going to watch it, and we're going to give it to them. So I'm excited, and the people that hate it must have not liked the No Holds Barred because that's what this is. It's basically stand up where everybody wanted you to be in the beginning days. So we're coming, like it or not. God bless, and don't forget, if you want more information about everything that we got going on, you go to kenshamrock.com. That's my website. And we got everything that's hooked up and everything that we're doing. So come on, we got this latest story. My blog is coming out. It's going to talk a little bit about why I'm doing this fight, the reason I'm doing this fight, and all the history behind this fight. So go check it out, kenshamrock.com. My blog is on there. Go check out the story we put on.
Hey, Ken, it's always a pleasure, my man. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, brother.
There's Ken Shamrock with us. Great stuff, man. I'm stoked for this. And I know a lot of people here are stoked for this as well here at the Fight Network. I'm also stoked for the UFC card this weekend. We're out of time here, so we'll come back and we'll take you back in time, knuckle style, on the way out. MMA Meltdown continues.